Good morning, everyone. Please write in the chat box whether you can see the screen or not, and whether you can hear me. Hello. Okay, so good morning, everybody. I'm Dr. Preeti Jain, and today I will be taking the lecture on intercellular communication and their application in clinical care and research. Now, this is basically your competency number 1.9. So it's a complicated kind of a competency. So I'll be just dealing with the intercellular communication and how it is being used in the clinical care and research, right? So now in your general physiology classes, you have already learned about the homeostatic mechanisms. You have been taught about the transport occurs, which occurs across the cell membrane. You must have been told about the intercellular connections as well, right? So today I'll be concentrating on the intercellular communication. Then you should be familiar with what is a chemical messenger. Once you know about the chemical messenger, how it is going to be received by the cell, so it becomes the receptor. And once it has reached the receptor, how does a combination of the receptor and the chemical messenger is transduced so that the cell can actually perform its function? That is your signal transduction pathway, or that is your cell signaling pathway, right? So these are the things which I'll try to cover up today. So first and foremost, as the name suggests, intercellular communication. So intercellular communication means a communication, like I am talking to you right now. So I am kind of communicating with you, right? So similarly, in our body, we have trillions of cells. So we have trillions of cells and we have number of systems also. So how does these systems and how do these cells talk to one another? That is basically your intercellular communication, right? So communication which occurs between the cells is known as intercellular communication, and the communication which is going to occur between, you could say, the cell itself, which is occurring within the cell itself, that is the intracellular communication. So intercellular is the communication between two or more cells, right? So that is intercellular communication. Now, why do these cells need to talk to one another, or why do these cells need to communicate with one another, right? So these cells, now suppose you have, this is early morning, you must have had your breakfast also. So once you have your breakfast, you've eaten something, say you have eaten bread or something, right? So you have had an intake of carbohydrate, or you've taken in glucose. Now, once you've taken in glucose, it has to be utilized by the body. Now, there are some cells in the body which can directly utilize the glucose, and there are other cells in the body which would require a hormone by the name of insulin. Once it has been, the glucose has been digested, the carbohydrates have been digested, it's been formed into glucose. So there are cells in your body which will respond only when insulin is present, right? So insulin becomes a messenger. It has to take in the glucose, it is affected by the glucose. So, how is that insulin going to affect the uptake of the glucose within the insulin dependent cell? So, this is going to help you in regulating your blood glucose levels, right? There's somebody who's raising a hand. So, I hope you all are able to listen to me. Okay, so these cells, they need to communicate with one another in order to regulate and coordinate the multiple activities which are occurring within our body tissues, within our organ systems, right? So this is why the intercellular communication is important. Now, when we communicate, as we communicate, human beings, we communicate in a language form, right? So their cells also have signals within themselves, and most of these signals are chemical in nature, and hence most of the communication which occurs between the cells is by means of the chemical messengers. Once the chemical messengers are picked up by the cell is going to produce a response, right? So this is just an introduction of intercellular communication. Now there are various kinds of intercellular communications. There can be direct communications, and there can be chemical messengers which are secreted into the extracellular fluid. Now this is important because you can get a question on this also. So the direct mode of communication, they are via the gap junctions, or you can have juxtacrene communication. Chemical messengers which are secreted into the ECF can be in the form of neural communication, endocrine communication, neuroendocrine communication, paracrine communication, and autocrine communication. So now coming to each of them one by one, direct intercellular communication, which occurs by means of the gap junctions, it is by means of the gap junctions. Now, gap junctions, you must have been taught in intercellular connections, wherein you must have been told about these gap junctions. So, here you can see that these are two cells. This is a cell 1, and there is a second cell also. So this is cell 1, this is cell 2. Now there is a space in between the two cells which is known as the extracellular space. Now what happens is wherever the gap junction is formed, so these two cells, the cell membranes, they come close to each other, and they are their cytoplasm. The cytoplasm of cell 1 is connected to the cytoplasm of cell 2 by means of these gap junctions which are formed by connexin proteins. So you can have a chemical messenger in cell 1 which is directly through the gap junction transferred into the cell 2. This is how the communication occurs between these two cells, and this type is basically it is seen in case of your cardiac muscles, right? It plays an important role in transmission of excitation between adjacent cardiac muscles. So of course, we have presence of gap junctions at other places also, but by and large, as far as today's class is concerned, I'm just giving you an example of a cardiac muscle cell, right? So this is direct communication via gap junction, in which the chemical messenger moves directly from one cell to another, and the connection here is between the cytoplasm of the two cells, right? Next is the juxtacrine communication. Juxta means it's something which is lying close to one another. So in this, what happens is that there is an intercellular communication which occurs by interaction between molecules which are protruding from their surfaces, right? So when I say this, what is happening here is basically that there is one cell which we call as a signaling cell. Now, this signaling cell can express a chemical messenger on the surface. So, as you can see, there is a chemical messenger which is lying on the surface, and there is another cell which is known as the receptor cell. It has a receptor for this particular chemical messenger. So, this chemical messenger binds to the receptor which is present on the adjoining cell. So there is a cell to cell contact wherein the chemical messenger and the receptor of adjoining cells, they are in contact to one another. Gap junction में क्या था? Gap junction में था कि cytoplasm of two cells was connected. यहाँ पर क्या हो रहा है? यहाँ पर as you can see that there is one cell which has a messenger on the surface. There is another cell which has a receptor for that messenger, and both of them are in contact to one another. So this kind of communication is known as juxtacrine communication. And this has importance in when we talk about the growth of the tissue or the local foci, which is within the tissue, the growth is occurring. So it is talking about that. So some cells, this is just one example. You have multiple examples of juxtacrine communication as well, but this is as far as the general introduction of these communications is concerned. There is a transforming growth factor alpha. TGF alpha stands for transforming growth factor alpha, which is expressed extracellularly. And there is another cell which has a receptor for this. So there is a linking between these cells. So this is known as juxtacrine communication, right? Next form of intercellular communication is in which you are having the secretion of the chemical messenger to the extracellular fluid. ठीक है, अभी तक क्या हुआ कि एक साइटोप्लाज्म से दूसरे साइटोप्लाज्म में वाया गैप जंक्शन गया, or it could be because there is a cell to cell contact, there is a signal molecule and there is a receptor, so they are contacting one another. Now in this, what happens is when we talk about the indirect modes of communication, in indirect modes of communication, first one is your neural communication. So as the name suggests, neural, इसका मतलब nerve से secrete हो रहा है, right? So this this chemical messenger is being secreted by the nerve, so it will be known as a neurotransmitter. ठीक है? So chemical messenger secreted by the nerve becomes a neurotransmitter. You are talking about neural communication. Now neural communication means कि एक नर्व का दूसरे नर्व से हो सकता है. Synapse, तो वो हो गया आपका synapse. It could be by between a nerve and a muscle, so it becomes a neuromuscular junction, right? So one will become your presynaptic terminal, other one will become the post synaptic terminal. और जो न्यूरोट्रांसमीटर कहाँ सिक्रीट होगा, न्यूरोट्रांसमीटर सिक्रीट होगा इनटू द साइनेप्टिक क्लेफ्ट. सो साइनेप्टिक क्लेफ्ट क्या है, साइनेप्टिक क्लेफ्ट एक एक्स्ट्रा सेल्यूलर स्पेस है, राइट? सो इट इज एंटरिंग इनटू द एक्स्ट्रा सेल्यूलर स्पेस. सो हियर यू कैन सी दैट दिस इज एन एक्सॉन एंड दिस इज एन एक्सॉन टर्मिनल. नर्व का आपको न्यूरॉन का स्ट्रक्चर पता ही होगा. So this is your neuron, this is the axon, this is the axon terminal, and from here the neurotransmitter is secreted by exocytosis into the synaptic cleft, and you have a postsynaptic terminal which has a receptor for this neurotransmitter or this chemical messenger. So neurotransmitter released at synaptic junctions acts across synaptic cleft on a postsynaptic cell. So this is your neural communication. Next is the endocrine and neuroendocrine communication. Next is your endocrine and neuroendocrine communication. तो neural communication में क्या था? Neural communication में था that the neurotransmitter was secreted into the synaptic cleft. ठीक है. न्यूरोएंडोक्रीन में क्या होगा? एंडोक्रीन क्या होता है? एंडोक्रीन होता है कि you know about the number of endocrine glands. You have the pituitary gland, you have the thyroid gland, you have the parathyroid, and so on so forth, right? So these glands, they secrete directly hormones into the bloodstream, और यहाँ से bloodstream में जाके वो कहाँ जाएंगे? They will act on the target cell. What would be a target cell? Target cell would be the one which has a receptor for a particular hormone, right? So endocrine gland or endocrine cell secretes the chemical messenger, that is a hormone, directly into the bloodstream, from where it is carried to the target cells. Target cell is one which has a receptor for this hormone, and then there would be multiple changes which will occur, and a response would be produced. Neuroendocrine में क्या होगा? Neuroendocrine is secreted by neurons. Name suggests neuroendocrine, secreted by neuron. What is secreted by neuron? Chemical messenger is secreted by the neuron into the circulating blood and influences the function of cells at another location in the body, right? So this is your neuroendocrine. Mainly it is your posterior pituitary hormone, the oxytocin and the vasopressin, which are synthesized in the hypothalamus. From there, through the hypothalamo-hypophyseal tract, they reach the posterior pituitary where they are stored, and when the need arises, they are secreted into the bloodstream. So this is neuroendocrine communication, right? Next form of communication is the autocrine communication and paracrine communication. So as the name suggests, autocrine, auto मतलब खुद पे act कर रहा है, तो secreted by the cell into the extracellular fluid, affects the function of the same cell. So the same cell has the receptor for the chemical messenger from which this chemical messenger was secreted. So this is the autocrine communication. Paracrine में क्या होगा? Paracrine communication, secreted from a cell and it is acting on an adjoining cell which has a receptor for it. So this is acting on a neighboring cell. So this becomes paracrine communication. An example of paracrine communication is nitric oxide. अभी बस याद रख लो, थोड़ा थोड़ा terms याद रख लो. When the systemic physiology will start, then you will be told about all these things in detail. So here we now, what are the various modes? What is intercellular communication? Communication between cells. कैसे होता है? By means of chemical messengers What are the various types of intercellular communication? You have the direct modes in which through cytoplasm to cytoplasm is via your gap junctions. Cell to cell contact is your juxtacrine communication. Then the chemical messenger enters into the extracellular fluid. You can have the you can have paracrine, you can have endocrine, you can have neuroendocrine, or you can have neural communications, right? So these are the various kinds of communication. A question is, some cells, they secrete chemicals into the extracellular fluid which act on cells in the same tissue. Which of the following refers to this type of regulation? Sorry, communication or regulation. Any one of you? You can write it in the chat box. So would it be neural? It will not be neural. Would it be endocrine? It will not be endocrine. Neuroendocrine? No. So it would be paracrine or autocrine. It is not acting on the same cell, but it is acting on cell in the same tissue. So it becomes paracrine mode of intercellular communication, right? So that is about the intercellular communication. What are the various types of intercellular communication? Now we come on to chemical messengers, right? So once you know that there are various modes of intercellular communication, now we start off with what are the various classes of chemical messengers, right? So there are chemical messengers which can be lipid soluble messengers or they can be water soluble messengers. So lipid soluble, they are able to pass through the plasma membrane. Water soluble cannot pass through the plasma membrane. Now, why this is important is because once you know what class of chemical messenger it is, then you will also be able to see where the receptor for that chemical messenger would be present. Once you know where the receptor is located, then you would be also able to tell what would be the signal transduction pathway for that particular chemical messenger, right? So, since it is able to pass through the membrane, it will have intracytoplasmic, it will have intracellular receptor, which could be in the cytoplasm or it could be in the nucleus. This cannot pass through water soluble, so it will be having a receptor which would be present on the plasma membrane itself. This will affect cell function by altering gene expression, the lipid soluble messengers. Water soluble messengers would initiate a series of intracellular events, it could be G protein coupled events or so on and so forth, right? So this is the example of lipid soluble is steroids. You have vitamin D, you have retinoids, thyroid hormones. Thyroid hormones have nuclear receptors. These of the rest of them have the intracytoplasmic receptors. For water soluble messengers, some of the examples are catecholamines, peptide, and protein hormones. Right? So, intercellular communication, how they communicate? They communicate by chemical messengers. What are the various types of chemical messengers? Various types of chemical messengers are either lipid soluble or they are water soluble. Depending upon the lipid soluble or water soluble, you have the location of the receptors, which could be on the surface of the cell membrane where they are termed as membrane receptors, or they could be cytoplasmic receptors, or they can be nuclear receptors. What are receptors? Receptors are large protein molecules which are present on the target cell. So हर चीज का यहाँ पर मतलब होता है, right? So when you say receptor, you will study in central nervous system. आपको sensory receptor भी कराया जाएगा. So don't confuse the sensory receptor with receptors for chemical messenger, right? So sensory receptor क्या होगा? They can be a receptor for pain, there could be a receptor for touch, temperature, vibration, and so on, so forth, right? So here we are talking about receptor for chemical messenger. Chemical messenger, Could be protein, could be peptide, could be steroid, could be thyroid hormones, could be amines, could be amino acids, बहुत सारे होते हैं, right? So इसका रिसेप्टर होता है, जिस सेल पे इसका रिसेप्टर होता है उस सेल को टारगेट सेल कहते हैं, ठीक है? सो जिस सेल पे भी केमिकल मैसेंजर का रिसेप्टर है उसको आप टारगेट सेल बोलते हो। और ये रिसेप्टर्स क्या होते हैं? ये लार्ज प्रोटीन मॉलिक्यूल्स होते हैं विच आर प्रेजेंट ऑन द टारगेट सेल। लोकेशन डिपेंड होती है डिपेंडिंग अपॉन द नेचर ऑफ द chemical messenger, right? So here you can see this is showing you the receptors for lipophilic hormones or the lipid soluble hormone कह लो या यहाँ पे lipid soluble you can say chemical messenger. So it can diffuse through the plasma membrane and it can have receptor depending on the chemical messenger. Could be in the cytoplasm when it becomes the cytoplasmic receptor, or it could be in the nucleus when it becomes the nuclear receptor, right? For the water soluble ones, the receptor would be present on the cell surface. So here you can see this is a cell surface receptor. Clear? So now you see for the receptor, nature हो गया उसका protein, location हो गई depending on chemical messenger on the membrane or inside the cell. थर्ड कैरेक्टरिस्टिक जो है स्पेसिफिसिटी। स्पेसिफिसिटी से क्या मतलब है? स्पेसिफिसिटी से ये मतलब है कि इट बाइंड्स टू ओनली वन टाइप ऑफ केमिकल मैसेंजर। सो देयर आर मल्टीपल receptors which are present in our body, but each receptor is specific for a particular, or it is specific for a specific chemical messenger. So this is known as specificity. इसमें you can see that this is a chemical messenger, this blue box, and you have 3 cells here, right? But only one cell has a receptor for this particular chemical messenger, right? So this becomes the target cell and these two are not the target cell. So this is showing you the specificity of the receptors for chemical messengers. Now once you have a receptor, आपकी class में say you are 250 students, right? And suppose there are only 250, you say only 240 chairs, right? तो उसमें क्या होगा कि 240 students तो बैठ जाएंगे और 10 बच जाएंगे. That means that class has been saturated, right? So similarly, here also what you have is that because there is a specific receptor and a specific chemical messenger, so there is a limit to which the chemical messengers can bind to the receptor. So the number of receptors is limited, right? So this causes the saturation of the receptors. So degree to which the receptors are occupied is known as the saturation. जब सारे receptors occupy हो जाएंगे तो उसको कहते हैं it is completely saturated. So no matter chemical messenger is present, but receptor तो है नहीं, so it will not be able to act, right? It will not be able to function. Then you have affinity. What do you mean by affinity? Affinity is the strength with which a chemical messenger binds to its receptor, right? So it can have a strong affinity, it can have a weak affinity. Competition, that means there are a number of chemical messengers which would be structurally similar to one another, right? So when you have a number of chemical messengers which are structurally similar to one another, then they will be competing with one another for a single receptor. This is what is termed as competition. Ability of different molecules with very similar structure to combine with receptor. और कौन सा combine करेगा chemical messenger? जिसकी affinity ज़्यादा होगी, right? Then another characteristic of receptor is agonist and antagonist. So what do you mean by agonist and antagonist? An agonist is a chemical messenger or a drug which mimics the action of the natural ligand when it binds to its receptor. इसका क्या मतलब हुआ? natural ligand है. What is a ligand? Ligand आपका extracellular mediator है, right? So it could be a hormone, it could be a neurotransmitter, it could be you could say it could be an amino acid, or it could be anything, right? So, or it could also be a gaseous substance. So it is a natural ligand. So agonist क्या है? This is a natural ligand. This is a receptor for this natural ligand. When this chemical messenger binds to its receptor, there is some change which is produced and then it will produce a response. Agonist क्या होगा? कि जो उसके एक्शन को मिमिक करे, उसको कॉपी करे या सेम एक्शन प्रोड्यूस करे, राइट? इट कुड बी अ ड्रग. अब जैसे सपोज द बॉडी में डेफिशिएंसी हो जाए, सपोज देयर इज अ डेफिशिएंसी ऑफ सम हार्मोन, से देयर इज अ डेफिशिएंसी ऑफ थायराइड हार्मोन विद इन आवर body. So what do we normally do when there is a deficient, if some person is having hypothyroidism and in which the primary defect is because it is not being secreted from the thyroid gland, so what happens? We give them a thyroid hormone from outside. We give a drug to them which is an agonist. Why is it an agonist? It is an agonist because it will produce a similar action to that of the thyroid hormone. So this is an agonist, right? So here we give an agonist which binds to the receptor and it may produce 100% response or it may produce less than 100% response. Antagonist क्या होगा? जो उसके action को oppose करता है, right? So it will be opposing the action of the chemical messenger. That is antagonist. Antagonist is a chemical messenger or a drug that inhibits the action of the natural ligand when it binds to its receptor, right? So here you have this is the natural ligand. This is a competitive antagonist because it is competing for the same site on this receptor, right? और नॉन कॉम्पिटिटिव क्या है? उसी रिसेप्टर पर एक्ट कर रहा है पर वो दूसरी साइट पे कर रहा है, लेकिन उसके एक्शन को वो कम कर देगा या खत्म कर देगा, फिनिश कर देगा, राइट? So you will be coming across these terms very commonly: parasympathomimetic, sympathomimetic, parasympatholytic, sympatholytic. तो ये क्या है? जहां mimetic आया means वो एक agonist है और जहां lytic आया वो antagonist है. Parasympathomimetic, that means a drug which is mimicking the action of the parasympathetic system. And one example, a parasympathetic system में क्या होता है? जो पैरासिम्पैथेटिक ऑटोनॉमिक नर्वस सिस्टम के दो पार्ट्स होते हैं, पैरासिम्पैथेटिक और सिंपैथेटिक, राइट? सो पैरासिम्पैथेटिक सीक्रेट्स एसिटाइलकोलिन. तो एसिटाइलकोलिन के एक्शन, एसिटाइलकोलिन हो गया और वहां पे आपके रिसेप्टर्स हो गए. तो जो एसिटाइलकोलिन के एक्शन को मिमिक कर रहा है, इट इज नोन एज पैरासिम्पैथोमिमेटिक माइमेटिक, और जो उसके एक्शन को अपोज कर रहा है वो पैरासिम्पैथोलिटिक. Examples are given here. Another characteristic of chemical messengers is that the receptors of chemical messengers, it is not a fixed component. They are not static component. They are dynamic components of cell. Depending upon the requirement, it can be the number and the sensitivity of the receptor can be regulated. So it can either increase or it can decrease, right? So the number and sensitivity of receptors is regulated. When there is a prolonged exposure to high concentration of a chemical messenger or an agonist, it will cause a decrease in the number of receptors. This is known as down regulation, right? So what is down regulation of receptor? जब बहुत ज़्यादा chemical messenger for a long time present हो रहा है body में, तो उसके number of receptors decrease हो जाएंगे. This is a kind of, protective mechanism in our body because unopposed action ना होता रहे body में, right? So otherwise it can produce harmful effects. Upregulation में क्या होगा? Prolonged exposure to low concentration of a chemical, मतलब chemical messenger की कमी है तो उसकी वजह से the concentration the number of receptor increases, right? So here you see that this is showing you hormone. So there is secretion, lots and lots of secretion of hormones, and these are the receptors. So when lots and lots of hormone is being secreted or a chemical messenger is being secreted, the number of receptors starts decreasing. This is down regulation. और जब number of receptor कम हो जाएंगे तो उसका response भी कम हो जाएगा. Up regulation में there is a low concentration of chemical messenger or high concentration of antagonist. So it has caused increase in the number of receptors. Once there is an increase in the number of receptors, it will lead to increase in the response. So this is how the regulation of receptors for chemical messengers occurs. Now, how does down regulation occur? How is down regulation brought about? So this diagram is basically showing you the mechanism, one of the mechanisms of down regulation of receptor. So here you see this is a chemical messenger. Now this chemical messenger has receptors, membrane receptors. So this must be a protein or a peptide, right? So once this binds to this receptor, now the receptor ligand complex, it is taken up by the cell by process of endocytosis. Now in transport across cell membrane, you must have been taught about exocytosis and endocytosis. So here this receptor ligand complex is taken up by the process of endocytosis, and it can become associated with the lysosome and get degraded, or it can be recycled, come back to the cell membrane, or there can be new secretion of receptor also, which can occur depending upon how much requirement is there. So one process or one mechanism by which down regulation of receptors occurs is endocytosis and internalization, because this receptor has been taken up by the cell, so it is known as internalization, right? Second process is कि receptor तो है, ligand भी present है, लेकिन अगर prolonged exposure हो रहा है तो वो उसका response कम होता जाएगा, वो desensitize हो जाएगा उससे, ठीक है. अब जैसे suppose करो you are sitting in a brightly lit room, right? और आप brightness से एकदम से darkness में जाते हो तो क्या होता है? जब आप ब्राइटनेस में इनिशियली जब आप डार्क से ब्राइट में आओगे तो क्या होगा? अगर आप अंधेरे कमरे से यू कम आउट टू अ लाइटेड रूम, सो सडनली व्हाट हैपेंस, आपको बहुत तेज लगती है लाइट, यू नो, इट अपीयर्स द इंटेंसिटी ऑफ द लाइट सीम्स वेरी हाई, but then you soon become adapted to it, right? So why do you become adapted to it? Because your receptors have stopped responding to the same intensity of stimulus. So this is desensitization of receptors occurs, right? So desensitization means it is becoming unresponsive, and unresponsive means there can be a number of changes which can occur within the receptors. That is desensitization of receptors, right? So in the receptors you have, what are the receptors for chemical messengers? They are protein molecules. कहाँ present होते हैं? Present होते हैं depending upon the chemical structure of the chemical messenger, whether it is water soluble, so it would be present on the plasma membrane, and if it is lipid soluble, it would be present in the cytoplasm or in the nucleus, right? Then there is, each chemical messenger has specific receptors, so there is specificity, there is saturation, there is the competition, there is affinity, there is agonist, there are antagonists, and there is regulation of receptors, which is down regulation or up regulation of receptors, right? Now we come on to, we know there is an intercellular communication, we know there is a chemical messenger which is responsible for the various communication mechanisms, for communication between the two cells. अब आपके पास मैसेंजर भी है, आपके पास रिसेप्टर भी है, आपके पास सेल भी है, लेकिन अब उसमें आपको रिस्पॉन्स प्रोड्यूस करना है, ठीक है? So that becomes your mechanism by which a chemical messenger is going to act. So this is what is known as cell signaling pathway, or it is also known as signal transduction. Signal क्या है? Signal है chemical messenger, that is your signal molecule. ट्रांसडक्शन है जब वो रिसेप्टर और सिग्नल कंबाइन कर गया, रिसेप्टर लाइगैंड कॉम्बिनेशन हो गया, तो थ्रू अ सीक्वेंस ऑफ इवेंट्स विद इन द सेल it is going to produce a response. अब response क्या हो सकता है? Depending upon the cell which you are talking about, the response can be contraction of the muscle, it could be the uptake of the glucose molecule, it could be glycogenolysis, it could be gluconeogenesis, कुछ भी हो सकता है, right? Depending upon which cell, which organ, which tissue you are talking about. तो इसके मैकेनिज्म में तीन बेसिक स्टेप्स होते हैं. देयर आर थ्री बेसिक स्टेप्स. स्टेप वन इज दैट देयर इज एन इंटरैक्शन बिटवीन द रिसेप्टर एंड द ligand, right? So there is an interaction between the receptor and the ligand or the signal molecule. Signal molecule means the chemical messenger. Second step is the sequence of events which take place within the cell, which cause finally produce a response. So the process by which a stimulus or a signal is transformed into a response through intracellular pathways is termed as signal transduction pathway. Process by which a signal or a stimulus is transformed into a response via intracellular pathway is termed as your signal transduction pathway. Third is the response which is produced by the receiving cell. So this is the basic of how the chemical messenger acts. Importance क्या है? Importance ये है कि it produces amplification of primary signal. हमारे पास एक particular signal molecule था, एक particular chemical messenger था, एक मॉलिक्यूल था मैसेंजर का, उस एक मॉलिक्यूल से एम्पलीफाई होके यू कैन सी इट इज प्रोड्यूसिंग, it can produce 100 or 1000 or 10,000 times of the response. So there is an amplification of the primary signal. This is one of the importance of signal transduction pathway. Second is that it helps in distribution of the signal to appropriate targets in the cell, right? So within the cell also, there are a number of proteins which are present. It can lead to the transcription, it could lead to formation, it could lead to formation of new proteins, it can produce, the enzyme can be formed, it can lead to opening up of ion channel. But so it is producing a distribution of signal to appropriate targets within the cell. And it also provides opportunity for feedback and regulation. You'll come to know as in when we discuss, right? So now we have कि जब वो response produce होता है तो एक common theme है इसमें, phosphorylation of the effector proteins which we either enhance or inhibit their activity. Okay? So it occurs by means of protein kinases. So these are responsible for phosphorylating the particular proteins. Now see, here you have so many signals which are present here. All these have plasma membrane receptors, right? Each of them is acting through a different mechanism. As you can see, it is acting through a different mechanism. लेकिन इसमें common क्या है? Common ये है कि यहाँ पर phosphorylation होगा of protein. इसमें एक phosphate group add होगा. So it will either increase or decrease the activity of the cell. So which is responsible for which protein is responsible for this? It is the protein kinases. These are responsible for phosphorylating the proteins. So this is very important. We have protein kinase A, we have protein kinase G, calmodulin, protein kinase C, and protein serine or threonine kinases. So these are kinases. What are kinases? They add a phosphate group, and once they add a phosphate group, they will be able to, once those proteins are phosphorylated, they become active and the response is going to be produced. To stop its action, you have another set of enzymes which is known as the phosphatases, which catalyzes the removal of phosphates from the proteins, right? So इन दोनों के बैलेंस से आपका temporal control of signal transduction pathway occurs, right? So you have the signal transduction pathway. सिग्नल ट्रांसडक्शन पाथवे में क्या हुआ, रिसेप्टर लाइगैंड कॉम्प्लेक्स बनने के बाद it will lead to phosphorylation of proteins. Phosphorylation of protein किससे होगा, by means of protein kinases. And once the phosphorylation means the phosphate group has been added, it will produce the response. You have to stop the response. There is presence of another set of proteins known as the protein phosphatases, which causes dephosphorylation, and a balance between phosphorylation, dephosphorylation will control the timing of the signal transduction pathway, when it has to start and when it is to stop. So what happens once there is an intracellular, there is a interaction between receptor and ligand? These are the things which can occur. There can be an activation of the ion channel. There can be an activation of a G protein. There can be an activation of the enzyme activity within the cell, or there can be direct activation of the transcription. These are the various things which are going to happen within the cell itself. So first is ion channel linked activation, right? In this, what happens? Here you have a neurotransmitter, or you can say you have a chemical messenger, binds to a receptor, and once it binds to the receptor, it produces a conformational change within itself, causes the opening up of an ion channel. Once it can cause opening, or it can cause closure of the ion channel, depending. Suppose it causes opening of ion channel, suppose it is a sodium ion channel link. So sodium ion enters, its sodium is positive. So when positive ion enters inside, the cell is going to become positive. It is going to produce the positivity within the cell. It is known as depolarization of the cell, right? An example of this is nicotinic acetylcholine receptor, which is present at the neuromuscular junction. Neuromuscular junction से किस तरीके का ये हो गया communication? It is a synaptic communication, because neuron ने release करा chemical transmitter. कौन सा chemical transmitter? Acetylcholine. वो किस पे bind करा? वो पोस्ट साइनेप्टिक मेम्ब्रेन पे एक्ट करा. पोस्ट साइनेप्टिक मेम्ब्रेन क्या है? उसमें मसल है. उससे क्या हुआ? आयन चैनल ओपन हुआ. आयन चैनल ओपन हुआ तो क्या हुआ? डीपोलराइजेशन हुआ, एंड थ्रू अ सीक्वेंस ऑफ इवेंट्स इट विल लीड टू द कॉन्ट्रैक्शन ऑफ द मसल. जब इसके अगेंस्ट इस पे कोई डिसऑर्डर हो जाए या इसके अगेंस्ट एंटीबॉडी प्रोड्यूस हो जाए तो क्या होगा? A condition known as myasthenia gravis is produced, where there is an antibodies which are produced against the nicotinic acetylcholine receptor. Now, this will be covered when you are being taught the muscle and the neuromuscular junction. Okay? So this is once the receptor ligand interaction occurs, it directly there is a change within this receptor, in the shape of this receptor, in the conformation of this receptor, causes opening of the ion channel. So it is directly linked to the ion channel and causes movement of the ion. Second is by means of a G protein linked activation. Now, what is a heterotrimeric G protein? As the name suggests, hetero means different है, trimeric means tri means three, meric means molecules or components. So this is a heterotrimeric G protein. So it is a G protein which is having three subparts, alpha, beta and gamma subparts. Linked activation मतलब यहाँ से इसको activate करोगे तो इससे आगे के steps produce होंगे. What is a G protein? Large glycoprotein which is made up of three subunits. Now this has इसका जो the chemical messengers which will be acting through G proteins, they have a receptor which is present on the plasma membrane. G protein coupled receptor. So G protein coupled receptor, they cross the membrane 7 times, hence they are known as serpentine receptors or 7 helix receptors, right? So G protein coupled receptor, which has crossing the plasma membrane 7 times, called as 7 helix or serpentine receptor. So when a ligand binds to the protein coupled receptor, what will happen? The inactive form of this G protein, why it is inactive? It is associated with GTP. So it will exchange a GDP for GTP. So now this will become active. Alpha component will split from beta and gamma, and this is now known as an active G protein, and it is going to produce the effect, right? So this is inactive G protein, this is active G protein, and this can be coupled to various enzymes in the plasma membrane itself, and then it becomes your second messenger system, right? So this is very important because there are various drugs which are being made, and it is also help. It is also a site where research activities are going on, right? So they are the prime targets for drug discovery. We have the common ones which you must be already familiar with is your H1 and H2 receptor blockers, right? H1 is your anti-allergic ones, the ones which you normally have, the fexofenadine and uh, the cetrizine and all. These are your H1 receptor blockers, and H2 is you have those H2 receptor blockers which help in the gastric acidity, right? So this is basically showing you a schematic representation of how the G protein mediated signal transduction occurs. So you have a ligand which binds to a plasma membrane receptor. The receptor ligand interaction will activate the G protein. How it will activate? It will activate by uh, exchanging the GDP for GTP. Once this is activated, this will activate. This can activate either an enzyme, or it can open or close an ion channel. So it can activate enzymes like adenyl cyclase, phosphodiesterase, phospholipase C, phospholipase A2, or it can open or close calcium, potassium, sodium, chloride channels, right? So if it is activating an enzyme, this will lead to production of more of other intracellular proteins which are called as second messengers. So this is a very important, very important topic. In fact, any system you will study will come across all these kinds of second messenger systems. And this second messenger in turn is going to cause the activity, and it will produce the effect by phosphorylating the protein kinases, and those protein kinases will in effect produce the response. So this is just a schematic diagram of how it is acting. So what is first messenger, second messenger? First messenger is basically the extracellular ligand. It can be a hormone, it can be a neurotransmitter and everything. Intracellular is the intracellular mediator is your second messenger. So three very important second messenger systems for mediating intracellular functions. You have the adenyl cyclase cyclic AMP system, you have the cell membrane phospholipid system, and you have the calcium calmodulin as the second messenger system, right? So cyclic AMP at second messenger, now you'll be able to understand it. Now see, this is a here cyclic AMP is produced, which is a second messenger, right? So what is it? There is a stimulatory receptor which is present on the plasma membrane. It is associated with a G protein. You have the stimulatory G protein and you have an inhibitory G protein. So depending upon which ligand is acting on which receptor, suppose it is acting on this receptor. So this is a stimulatory receptor. What will happen? The G protein will be activated. How it will be activated? It will be activated by the exchange of GTP for GTP. Now, this in turn will activate the enzyme which is present in the plasma membrane. The enzyme is adenyl cyclase. Once this enzyme is activated, it will cause the conversion of ATP to cyclic AMP, right? So it will cause the conversion of ATP, catalyzes the conversion of ATP to cyclic AMP. Now this cyclic AMP will cause the activation of cyclic AMP dependent protein kinase A, and this cyclic AMP dependent protein kinase A will cause phosphorylation of the protein and it will cause a response, right? So say you're talking about epinephrine. Epinephrine acts on this receptor, and it once it is acting on say beta 1 receptor, then it is causing the effect which is brought about by second messenger, that is cyclic AMP. Now this cyclic AMP is inhibited by phosphodiesterase enzyme, which makes it into an inactive form 5-AMP, right? Or there could be another ligand which is acting through inhibitory G protein, which causes the inhibition or lesser formation of cyclic AMP. So this phosphodiesterase is inhibited by methylxanthines like caffeine and theophylline. This adenyl cyclase is stimulated by drugs. So there are multiple actions which can occur. There are multiple sites at which it can occur. And this is how the cyclic AMP functions as a second messenger system. Now, you must have heard about the cholera and pertussis toxin. So, cholera causes diarrhea, watery diarrhea. Pertussis causes this is whooping cough, right? So, this is also acting through this cyclic AMP mechanism. What cholera toxin does is that it maintains this in an active state. It maintains there is more and more action of adenyl cyclase enzyme because इसकी जो intrinsic GTPase activity है उसको वो inhibit कर देता है. तो जब वो इसको inhibit कर देता है तो एक बार active G protein बन गया, उसने adenyl cyclase को activate करता रहता है. So that is why what happens is that it goes on and on. The action of this cholera toxin produces more and more action. पर्ट्यूसिस क्या करता है? पर्ट्यूसिस टॉक्सिन जो है वो इनहिबिटरी जी प्रोटीन को इनहिबिट कर देता है. तो जब इसको इनहिबिट कर दिया तो क्या होगा? इसका एक्शन फिर से अनअपोज्ड होता रहेगा, राइट? सो दीज बोथ आर एक्टिंग थ्रू साइक्लिक एएमपी मैकेनिज्म. वन is acting through the stimulatory one, another one is acting through the inhibitory one, right? Another second messenger system is your inositol triphosphate diacylglycerol second messenger. Again, it is the same almost. Here what happens is that the enzyme is different. Here you have a phospholipase C enzyme. So here the ligands which are acting through this system, it will be acting through the G protein. I think I will stop here and continue this later on, right? So any questions which you have, you can ask me. So here today I have discussed with you the intercellular communication. What are intercellular communication? What are the various types of intercellular communication? What is a chemical messenger? What is the nature of chemical messenger? How do they act through the receptor? What is the nature of the receptor? What is the location of the receptor? What is affinity? What is competitive inhibition? What is agonist, antagonist, saturation? And then you have the down regulation, up regulation of receptors. And then we talked about that Once this has happened, receptor ligand interaction occurs, then there is the signal transduction pathway which is occurring, and signal transduction pathway will lead to a response. So, any questions which you have, you can ask me later on, okay? And I'll continue this. Thank you. Hello.